think he has a flush, so he's got a big stack. I think he's calling. So I do think I run into like 8-8 with a spade here a lot. I think he has a weak hand, but I'm just not going to go for it because I think he's going to call 8-8 with a spade. So.
Three bet or just call? I think just call. Like I will have a three betting range, but I think it is just nuts or nothing. Definitely a challenge to become a consistent player. Poker is a very, very hard game. The plan today is just to play a bunch of poker. Like, 4-table Zoom, if the Zoom is running. And then when the 500Z breaks, if it breaks, then I'll try to find something else. I think with 9-7, I just need to call check. It's like the worst feeling to do this, but this hand just has so much equity attached to it that I think it's important I realize it. King Jack 3, very good board for the pre-flop 3 better. Just because of the 2 high cards being out there. 10 turn. It's a little bit mixed. Certainly for my hand, it's not a turn card I want to see. Flushes come in. 2 pair can be made. Okay, so I should be feeling pretty safe now that he's checked back the turn. And like, I can go for a fairly healthy value bet. If I get shoved on, I'll just fold. Even if I get min raised, I'll just fold. Table 1, sizing down because of one, a pretty big lack of bluffs. Like, my bluffs are 5x or low pocket pairs turning into a bluff, and I want to be able to have really cheap bluffs with those hands. Okay, tough river to actually like make money here. So queens, tens, nines, eights. Those are the hands I can make money from. Maybe 7x of hearts. But it's just not a lot. There's not a lot of weaker hands that will also call a bet. My guess is he had pocket tens and like made a terrible river call. Yeah, he had pocket eights. Honestly, I think his river call is total spew. Like, we're 3-way to the flop. Yeah, I used 3 small sizes, but I think it'll be tough to find money there. Okay. Little royalty-free jazz. Royalty-free upbeat. See what YouTube's got for us. Queen 10 off, mixing, call and 3-bet. I kind of like a turn bet with the Queen 10 just to get a little value protection from like Ace King, Ace Queen with the gutter. If those hands are in the mix. And Jack 10, just need to shove 2-pair plus for value once we get here. Face a big turn bet. So if we call turn, can we fold any rivers? Probably not. I think this is a spot where like calling and shoving both look very strong. And if I call, I doubt my opponent will find a lot of river bluffs with his missed draws. Six of hearts, just checking down. Table 2, I've got a pretty solid check folding hand. I expect my opponent to get to the river with like tons of offsuit Broadway hands that have a high club. Like, say King 10 offsuit, King 9 offsuit with the King of Clubs. Very easy for like pretty much everyone to find their way to the river with those hands. Especially once he bets pot, like... Okay, table 2 defending flop gutter. Turn an ace, and he half pots. calling makes the most sense to me. And get to the river. I do feel the desire to make a thin value bet. I actually think specifically with ace deuce, I probably shouldn't. Basically, my opponent, like, I have a bunch of flush draws that miss. My opponent has a bunch of queens, so in general I want to be thin value betting a lot. That being said, I think if I bet all of my aces, I run into a little bit of a problem. In general, because my opponent just gets to, like, insta check the river with all of his, like, sets and two pair, and then he gets full value from all of my ace x and from all of my diamond draws. So I think I need to mix some checkdowns in with my very weakest aces to punish my opponent when he does check the river nutted. That's my thinking. I'm not certain I want any ace deuce checks, but that's why I did it. My ethnicity, I think, like, some Finnish, some French, maybe some Estonian. So when somebody says this, they just mean, like, they'd rather have a better hand to bluff catch with. They'd rather have side cards that block their opponent's value hands. Somewhere down the line, I don't know, a few years ago, maybe like 6 years ago or something, people figured out this term called blockers. And it's turned out to be super valuable. And the idea is, like, when you hold a heart on a board with 3 hearts, it's a lot less likely for your opponent to have a flush. Because depending on the heart you hold, you probably reduce your opponent's flush possibilities quite a bit. And this concept has really stood the test of time for being, like, especially in PLO, but also in No Limit. Like, so they're valuable in different ways. In PLO, it's valuable. These blockers are valuable because when you are talking about, like, river bets, ranges are generally pretty polarized and narrow. So, like oftentimes, you know, if you're making a huge big river raise, your opponents pretty much just want to call you when they have the nuts. And so if you block the nut flush, that's a very good bluffing hand. Now this is now, like, known, and so there's a lot of, like, gameplay built around this idea. But and then in No Limit, there's a lot of, like, mixed frequencies. So using your blockers to determine your mixes is really nice way to build a strategy. I believe our opponent with ace-6 should have checked the river rather than bet. By checking the river, he'll get value from my 9s and my missed draws and my overcard floats. By betting the river, like he did, he only gets value from my 9s. I think him betting the river, he got equal value against my exact hand, like whether he checks or bets. But against my range, he'll get a lot more value by checking. Okay, I've been seeing a lot of in-position raising so far. Jack 9, I'm going to keep betting. Ace 3, I'm going to check back. And river, I can check or bet. I prefer at these stakes a bet because I don't see people calling the river here with ace queen. Okay, ace 3 against pot size bet. I'm going to end up calling and call non-diamond rivers. The 3 blocker is, I would say, slightly negative because I unblock gutters with a 3, like pocket 3s, and I don't think 3-5 is a very relevant part of his range. I'm going to end up checking down the river. I think my opponent's range is split between give-ups and then traps, and I don't think he has like second best hands that will call river. So as played, my plan was good. Like I was going to fold diamonds if a diamond came in and call non-diamonds. Evolver, thanks so much for your sub, man. Oops. I believe it's still September, so half off subs for the next 10 minutes. In case people want access to VODs and emotes and things like that. That's a thing. Going to value bet 10. And this is a pretty good 10. I have quite a few different types of 10s here. This is a 10 where my kicker actually plays. So I'm making like a pretty big value bet. Really trying to get paid here with my queen 10. My opponent can have a lot of 8s that were gut shots on the flop and can have ace 8 makes a lot of sense. Can also have a lot of weaker 10s that check back the turn. Current session graph. Stuck a buy-in. I think we had like mostly got hurt by like a 2-pair over 2-pair situation. Okay, 7-7. I'm going to check the turn, and this is a hand I'm going to bluff if he checks back the turn. And I'll probably use this to balance out my slow plays. Okay, so I'm actually going to do a blocker bet, like a blocker size bluff with this hand, and I'll use the larger size bluff if I have the 7 of hearts. I think is decently important. So like this bluff is sizing to balance like ace king and aces, hands I want to get value from on the river but I don't want to shove all in. And I'm kind of hoping to get folds from, Jack, Ace Jack. Maybe it's possible to get an exploitative fold from like a King Queen if the guy's like, nobody bluffs this size. That happens. I'm gonna double barrel 7-8. And this is an interesting one. So by shuffling the river, I fold out his kings. I get called by all of his aces. I actually am going to check and give up this one. The reason I'm not following through with this specific combo is because I have 2 spades and the flop was rainbow without a spade. So like I have a really wide range at this point, but this specific hand completely unblocks his ace high backdoor flush draws. So his like ace 10 of clubs, ace 10 of diamonds type hands, or ace 8 of, ace 8 suited, ace 7 suited. Like, I don't block any of those backdoor flush draw hands, and I would like to. When I do follow through. Because I want him to have a king, I don't want him to have an ace. Because an ace is never going to fold. Nine, 8, checking back, and then probably just giving up completely. Like, I do unblock a lot of his potential weak holdings here, but so like I think shoving is an okay option, but I'm not a huge fan of that play. Without a spade. Check on raise. Thanks so much for your raid, and the beats your subscription. 10-7 off suit folding. And I'm going to check raise bluff this gut shot. So he calls, and now I need to, well, I could check and try to show down. I don't really believe in the showdown value of this hand though, so I'm gonna bluff. And basically what I'm saying is, when I check raise the turn, I have a ton of jacks in my range. So when the queen comes in, I have relatively fewer bluffs. And villain called with 6-7, which makes tons of sense. Just ran into a little bit of a strong hand in his range. The classic, low frequency turn, check raise, and villain has the third nuts. Not good. 10-9, no heart, check folding. Folded a few raggy offsuit hands out of the big blind. Hands that are very, very close to 0 EV defends. If my opponents are playing decently well, they should be negative, like minus 110 BB per 100. Or maybe even minus like 120, 125. Nope, Ignition does not have 5-card PLO. Jin Chichi NG, thank you. Many thanks. Uh, 7-8 is basically like the perfect turn check raise hand. And Blast River. I love that I don't have a heart. I do wish I had an ace or a queen or something, but the combination of having both 8 high and no heart makes this a hand I'd like to bluff. Ace-6 suited can fold against kind of a larger, slightly larger size. Check on raise, 2 months. Thank you, bro. Raid and a sub. Thank you very much. Dude, fuck yeah, I'll take an 8-man raid. I'll take an 8-man raid. Okay. I don't have a spade. My opponent just has like a lot of pocket 9s, pocket 10s here. Bluffing would probably be okay. Queen 8 suited folding to a 3-bet because, one, Queen 8 suited is pretty low in my range, but also the dude only had like 30 bigs. So the 500 Zoom pool tonight feels pretty reggy. Doesn't seem like there's a ton of fishy stuff going on. Also, might be kind of breaking, not really getting dealt into hands. Four 3 suited blind versus blind is a hand I usually will check back flop and check back turn, and then sometimes bluff on the river once my opponent's checked 3 times. It's true that I can turn a deuce and do some nice like double barreling, but in general, my lowest equity hands are just going to get checked back and be give ups. Okay, A7 flop goes check check. I'm going to stick in a turn bet here with 3rd pair and then do a lot of river check folding. Idea here is like I can win against my opponent's give ups on the river, and I also can improve. Hit an ace or 7. So he had ace of hearts 3, which is a hand that I would follow through with if I were in his shoes. 6-4, I'm just gonna check and give up. It is the nut bottom of my range, but I also have an incredibly wide range and would like to wait for at least a club. I mean, blocking flush is not really relevant at this part of the tree, but it might have a slight impact on his ace-high bluff catching. And with my range being as wide as it is, I like to be a little careful not to overbluff anyway. Okay, ace-king, under the gun versus big blind. I want to tread pretty carefully here. And I'm not incredibly attached to this holding. So my opponent checks the river. I almost undoubtedly have the best hand at this point, but the types of hands he's going to play this way are probably like 7-8, 9-7 type hands. So I don't really get value from those by betting, even though I have the best hand. Queen 6, I don't like as a bluff catcher because the 6 blocks things, a bunch of different gutters and things. Gonna pip the aces, or call 3-bet with the aces. And check call the flop. And check call turn. My plan was to check fold the river, which is, it's always kind of a fun play. Like slow playing aces pre, then like check call, check fold. It's kind of, there's something kind of fun about that. But opponent did not follow through with pocket eights. Interesting spot. Facing a lot of aggression in these games tonight. A lot of aggression. King 7, I'm going to go ahead and give up here. Mostly, I don't like the 7 for blocking the various open-enders that are possible. It's true I did not have a club, which my opponent could be playing club draws that way, but I also have a lot of 8s in my range, so does my opponent, so I want to stick to my better kings, my higher kings, and I'll have like lots of my higher kings given the action. Table 3, I kind of want to make as big a value bet as I think my opponent will call with worse. So in this case, I think it's about 3/4 pot. Table 2, playing bet, check, bet, blind versus blind. Table 4, honestly, I don't see a lot of flop raising on King 7-6 Rainbow. I'm not really sure if that's supposed to be much of a play. Now, having Ace 3 of clubs, not really a hand that I'm going to be battling with. My battling hands are like Ace Queen, and then like Ace 8 with a backdoor flush draw, Ace 4 or Ace 6 with backdoor flush draw. The aces that have like multiple backdoors. Queen 5, suitable for a bottom of range bet. My worst value bets here will be Jack X, so I don't have a ton of those because a lot of my hands Jack X and better get allocated on earlier streets. Uh, 10-10, I kind of like a turn bet and check back river play. If I face a turn check raise, this hand is it's in a really funny spot where like it kind of needs to call just based on sheer hand value, but it also has pretty terrible blockers, blocking our opponent's bluffing range pretty hard. Queen 8, I'm gonna check, and this is a card that like typically I'm gonna be range betting, but in these pools with this hand strength, I think it's just better to check because people are so passive. Like him checking down aces is a testament to that. Medium strength hands that want to get to showdown in these games just can. So there's no need to like do kind of a little bit fancier things. Yeah, I think I've played 5-10 at Tulalip a couple of times. Ooh, this is kind of a fun one. King 10. This is a great hand to double float. I'll fold King Queen here, but call King 10 because I picked up the extra gut shot. And then this is a hand I'll bluff if on like all the non-heart rivers. So this is great that I actually have a value hand here. Like I have mostly like ace high hearts at this point, which are going to bluff. Okay, so it sucked out to a chop with, I had like what, 4 outs to win, 3 outs to chop. Yeah, Tulalip, I mean, it's just so boring. I think there's like a 300 cap or a 500 cap. Like, I need real no limit. I need to really be able to play. It's not very fun to play no limit with like a 30 big blind cap. Like I would honestly, if I went to play live, I would rather play like 1-3 or 3-5 and be able to actually like maneuver a little bit more and play the game rather than get stuck with what turns into like limit shit basically. Demadork. Dude, thank you. Appreciate the subscription. And I appreciate flopping straight. Okay, so we were 4-way to the flop. I'm just going to fold this jack, but I'm kind of curious, so I'm going to hang out and see what happens. It's definitely possible that this jack 8 is the best hand, but to me it feels like someone else will have a better hand pretty often. Yeah, I mean, the 500 zoom pool is also pretty passive, like, compared to, like, aggressive games. But, yeah, I was speaking specifically about the 200 and L tables, which are extraordinarily more passive than the 500 even. Okay, turn another gutter with 9-10. So now, actually, I think I just have the same gutter to a jack. Yes, that is true. I did not turn more equity. Jacks, I checked back twice. Just need to call the river. Honestly, in this pool, I think this call is probably losing. I'm not willing to fold it, just because. I have a general sense of wanting to play good poker, but yeah, so my problem with the game at Tulalip isn't the buy-in amount, but it's just the max bet. Like, it's a little better when the buy-in is deeper, but like I'm not really looking for like more gamble. I'm just looking for like the ability to actually play no limit hold'em versus playing some very strange game where it's like the river action is like bet 500 and then you can only raise 500 more. I really don't like that. I really like being able to raise all in and play for all of my chips at any given time. I think it's a really important part of no limit hold'em. The ability to check back, flop, and then just call any turn, call any river really takes the edge out of the game, I think. Yeah, if they changed it to true no limit, I would make my way up there more often. Definitely. Okay, call 3-bet, button versus big blind. King Eye Nate is not a great flop for 10-8 of hearts, but this hand is certainly going to be a flop continue against the small sizes. Against the bigger sizes, like half pot, I could see finding a flop fold with this bottom pair. Now, I'm kind of in the market to turn this into a bluff. And I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to shove and try to fold out something like tens, jacks, queens, or, you know, maybe even a weak king, depending how bluff catchy he is feeling. Wow. He was feeling bluff catchy. He did not believe the line. He put me on a flush draw and called with probably ace, queen, no diamond. That is... Oh, he called with a rivered 6. That is not the outcome I expected there. His bluff catcher is actually like pretty darn good. I think he has like one of his best bluff catchers. Outside of the fact that he loses to some bluffs, but he blocks 2-pair and trips on the rivered 6, and he also blocks straights, and he doesn't block diamonds. So those are all pretty good things about 6-7 of clubs. But ultimately, sucks for him because I was bluffing with a better hand. Wow, this person called with ace king high. That seems pretty dicey. So he raised pre, flop goes check check, turn he check calls, river he check calls against pot size bet. Seems a little bit dicey. Yeah, just having the big blinds to be able to put pressure on, and just I personally I don't enjoy late games. I just don't find them very fun. Yeah, I could confirm my fishdom. I'm a fish. I'm a bit of a fish. I'll confirm it. I'm kind of just a button clicker over here. Whoa. There's a 3-handed 100-200 game going on Stars, and Red Baron ran up 100k stack. It's pretty sick. I want to review some of these hands. I've had the table open, so the hand replayer should get me these hands, I think. I'm going to check call ace 8. It's so nice to have an ace here. Damn, OTB is just killing. He is just killing. It's Katya, Limitless, and OTB. King 9 offsuit is very loose to be defending blind versus blind. Very, very loose. I would say this is probably losing defend. Interesting. So on the 8, I'm doing a lot of checking, but I still want to do some betting. I think usually my strategy in these spots is to use my nut gut shots very aggressively, and then do the more passive things with my regular gut shots. I mean, okay, so this is an open-ender. I can hit a 6 also, but alright, I'm just going to make a little bluff like this and just see if I can fold out like a 10. Or potentially an overpair. Lofty goals. Okay, ace 8 suited, and we've got a station pilot here who is going to station and flop middle pair. Flop, pretty torn between like shoving flop and calling, both seem good. How do I get the ace king call? I think my favorite way is to check back and then value bet the river on a brick, and on this river I'll just fold. Why would he not shove if he had ace king? I'm not sure, but I'm also not going to hero call. Okay, somebody recommended a board. I'm gonna go find it. Okay. Take a little look here. Okay, so the classic OTB 5-bet. Alright. 5-bet triple barrel. On 10 river, I'm gonna bet fold. This is a spot where I probably size down the turn in tougher games. But in these games, I think my opponent's range condenses or consolidates around a king or a queen on the flop, so I really just want to put as much money as I can. Okay, queen 10 can kind of do, you know, it could just like shove the flop, but I think calling is a little bit better. River is interesting and kind of uncomfortable. I feel a little bit mixed between calling and folding. I don't know. I don't care too much. I'd really like to have a club to call. Or even a king. I think I can have some kings. No, I'm not going to share my config. I'm just not interested in doing that. I mean, there's no real reason I just don't want to do that. it's not too hard to set up. Floating with ace jack, the ace of spades, and pocket jacks feels like just a good check down. Like my opponent can have ace 10, ace 8, even a hand like ace 9 suited can be in the mix here. So not super excited about trying to like make a either a value bet or a bluff with pocket jacks. Ace jack, I'm still just checking. This board is really, really awful for my small blind cold call range. Table 3, face a donk lead on 7-4-4. Raising a lot. And I'm gonna check back the turn. King 10 offsuit, mixing. And checking. River. Kind of like a raise here. I don't know. It seems very close. I think I do want to raise a decent amount, but I also really would like to have ace 10 or a spade. I don't know. There's a pretty big difference between having ace 10 and king 10, and there's also a pretty big difference having a spade versus not having a spade. Table 2, I'm going to split my river range between bets and checks. I'm going to bet most of my ace-x, and then sticking king-jack in as like this one of the strongest hands. I'm always going to check call. He overbets. I'm sad, but like I said, like my range is quite weak here, so going to defend. I just call that an unfortunate jack to hit. Just an unfortunate jack. Sometimes you don't want to improve. I kind of love these pair plus gutter plus backdoor flush draw hands. I have a real soft spot for these guys. Just because of how much equity they hold. Like, it's kind of deceptive how good those hands are. So I get pretty excited and I'm like, all right, I get to, like, a lot of my one pair hands You just can't check raise for protection against, ace king, ace queen, because they have to fold if they get shoved on. But when you have like a pair plus a gutter plus a backdoor flush draw, I don't care if I get shoved on because I have so much equity. It's fine. So I like check raising those aggressively for protection, and when I get shoved on, just call, and it's okay because it has lots of equity. Whoa, so this guy probably has ace 10 or 10-9, maybe king 10. I like how he played this hand. If he did have one of those hands. Check calling strong against me does wonderful things. Flop equity is like it's like 35%, 40%. With pair gutter backdoor flush draw. It's good. It's good. Lots of equity. Don't exactly know how much, but something very good. Probably not 40%, but good amount of equity. I would guess at least 35. Okay, so the tables I'm playing are called Zoom tables. So you enter the player pool, and then when you fold, you get redealt in another hand. I could see how it would be kind of hard to track, but folding really deep with kings. Gonna just represent what I have and try to pile money in against high pocket pair that cold called out of the big blind, so we just want to make sure to stack like queens, jacks type hands. And get a nice run out to stack him if he does have one of those hands. If he has aces, this is not such a nice run out. My guess is he had pocket queens or pocket jacks. He had pocket jacks. King jack against the river overbet. This is kind of a rough one. I'll go ahead and call, but I actually have some problems about the king. Holding the king here. See where the replayer's at, but basically I've got some problems with this. Oh, okay. I thought that my opponent had checked a street. He hadn't. So I have no problems with the king jack as a bluff catcher. If my opponent checks back a street, I don't like the king as much because ace king doesn't check back. But against a triple barrel, I'm fine. I like calling down king jack. Just because ace king is now a very relevant combo to block. Dude, cat hair. Thanks for 11 months, man. I think you're the longest sub. You're tied with control play, I think. I do really appreciate it. Hey, yeah, and we don't have to battle. You're at the reg tables, I'm at the Zoom tables, and we don't have to battle. That's nice. I like avoiding regs, too, just as much as the next guy. Deuces, huh? So I 3-bet deuces, small blind versus button. A little bit loose, but it's okay. The button called, and I got a 3-4-5 rainbow. Check calling. Turn Jin. Jin. Can't really ask for a better turn card. And check calling. I really like being able to have a nutted hand here to defend my ace king, ace queen, ace jack turn check calls. River is not such a good card. Boats are a thing here. He can have pocket threes and pocket fours. Yeah. Got a little fucked on the river, but it was kind of a cooler hand to begin with. Table 1 is fairly standard to just shove V-pips here just to realize equity and deny equity from potential overcard hands. Yeah, Cat in the Hat is OG. OG sub. No doubt. $40K pot going down. Doesn't look like it's super interesting, but okay, 3-bet call, bet raise call, check call, and check call. Pretty standard. Nope, I don't smoke weed. Did a long time ago. For like a couple of years, but yeah, don't smoke weed anymore. If I lit up a joint, I think I would lose a lot of EV. I think I would. I mean, I used to do that. I used to smoke weed and play poker. I'm like 10 years ago, but I think I would lose a decent amount of EV if I did it right now. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of action to sweat right now. 4 tables of Zoom and Poker Stars high stakes. There's a lot going on. I'm gonna check back trips. Oh, he found a way to have an ace. I thought that was gonna be tough for him. I'm checking back trips also on table 2 so that I can have some value hands that raise river. I'm not going to raise this river because the 4 straight came in. I think it would be too thin. I'm not playing 100-200. But these folks who are playing 100-200 are millionaires. I'll just leave the 100-200 to those guys. Ace 5 of clubs, I'm going to check call the river. looking for suited standard 4-bet combo button versus big blind. I kind of prefer being awake at night. It's certainly worse for the poker games. Like the best hours are evenings, when people are off work and the pool is as big as it gets. Like honestly, the best hours are it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday evenings, and I barely play those hours. I just play whenever I happen to be awake. The prop bet is not big enough. It's only a 3K prop bet, so it's not big enough for me to like min max it super hard and try to like do every possible thing I can to try to win it. Okay, I gotta take this phone call for like 5 minutes. Okay. Who's my favorite poker player? I don't really know. I don't have someone that really comes to mind. I'm a big fan of Phil Galfond, a big fan of Sauce 123. I like watching like all the different high stakes stars guys. Like there's no one I really don't like watching. True Teller's really fun to watch. OTB really fun to watch. I'm gonna take a short break. Having slightly losing session, down a couple buy-ins, pretty standard. Have had like 3 2-pair over 2 pairs and 1 set against straight, so I think have had my fair share of pots not go my way, but Mostly pretty normal session. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, I'm losing the prop. Losing the prop. Trying my best. 9-4 of spades I don't love for like a triple barrel. I do want a lot of barreling, but this 9 is not a card I'm so excited about having. Get a pretty loose call out of pocket tens. Nine five of clubs, just checking to keep the pot a bit smaller without having an additional piece of equity, gutter or something. And like him checking back the turn with king 10 and then checking back the river is tremendous value that he's giving up. He should be betting the turn. And if he doesn't bet the turn, he should definitely be betting the river. Tempting to bluff catch jack high, but I think it's a little too weak. You know, I haven't really made up my mind on the whole affiliate link thing. I had an affiliate link up for a little while for Run It Once, and I did, I got a couple $100 from people using it. But I don't like doing a bunch of affiliate links. I think it gives me weird incentives to like plug things and fills up my stream with a bunch of junk, and I don't know. I don't need to turn my stream into a big advertising platform. That's the thing. I don't know. I have nothing wrong with it. I just don't want to do it. Not quite yet. Okay, aces. I don't really know what to do here. I'm going to get it in, but I could see folding here. I don't think that would be a terrible thing to do once this player cold calls. I mean, I love my hand against the button. I don't really like my hand against the cold call, but it's just a tough situation to navigate because, well, it's just a tough situation. The cold caller certainly can have pocket jacks 10s or jack 10 suited, but he's also in a very tough spot when he has hands like ace jack, king queen, king jack, queen jack. Like, what does he do with those hands? Probably I don't know. I would probably cold call those hands, but maybe those can just be folded. Sure, yeah. Taking notes on your phone while you play live sounds like a good thing to do. Uh, 5-6, I'm gonna fold the turn. I have a lot of like 8x. I also have a lot of gutters here. And while the on the flop, my pairs without a pocket pair have 5 outs instead of 2. On the turn, all my paired hands have 2 outs exactly. So I think I'd rather like have a hand like pocket 9s that also has a gut shot. Jack deuce table 1, just playing passively. And I'll check back turn, bet river with this hand. I expect my opponent to often have a hand like ace 8, ace 7. Raise a turn, check raise. Ace 3 of hearts is like pretty sweet here. Blocking flopped value, set of 3s, and unblocking all the gutters and flush draws. 10 of spades is I believe it's the single worst river in the deck for my hand. I don't think there's a worse card. He checks, now I just hope to beat a hand like ace jack of clubs. But I'm not going to turn this into a bluff without having a club, without having a spade in my hand. that was kind of a reverse spot from earlier where my opponent was bluffing, semi-bluffing, but he actually did have the best hand at the same time. Heads up, Master. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. This something about the ethics of hitting and running. I don't really follow this. My word to you when I say this: in casino, it's okay to hit and run. In private clubs, if you hit and run, they usually won't want you back. Of course. You've been hit and run before. All right. Personally, I don't have any problem getting hit and run. It's not a thing that bothers me at all. I think anybody should be allowed to play for as long or as little as they want, and unless it's explicitly in the rules that you have to play a minimum number of hands or something like that, then anybody should be allowed to leave. $15x pot jam from Limitless. Oh my god, I want to see this hand. It's going to be a little hard to find, I think. Yeah, I can't find it. Interesting spot. Table 1. I think check folding feels pretty reasonable against the big blind cold call. Yeah, I like run it once and upswing for paid training, and right now I don't play anywhere besides Ignition. I was playing Global, but Global no longer accepts Washington residents, so I can't play Global anymore, so just playing Ignition. 7-6, definitely a candidate to bluff after checking back twice, but honestly, like my range is so wide at this point that I really want to have a diamond. If anything, like if nothing else, just to manage my frequency a little bit. Like I'll use this type of thing where I have 5 high with a spade. Yeah, I don't care if people play one hand and double up and leave. I think the reason you feel bad is because you lost money in the hand. I don't think it's because the ethics of the situation. Like, what if they sit down one hand and lose an all-in pot and then leave? Is that also like shady? Like, no. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I don't think it's bad etiquette. I see where you're coming from. I just happen to disagree with you. I think it. Yeah, nobody has any obligation to play a certain amount of hands unless there's some agreement in place that's going to happen. Face a turnover bet. I think that in this spot, calling ace jack with the jack of clubs would be overdoing it a little bit. I'd rather call Ace King, which has 6 really good outs against Queen X. It's probably only slightly overdoing it. Oh, jeez. I'm gonna just fold these 9s. Just gonna fold. This is like a pretty huge 4-bet. As tempting as it is to try to set mine. Winning 25 and L at 11 BB. Bank was up to 1K. When to take a shot at 50 and L? A little hard for me to say. Maybe like $1,500. Something in there. Gonna check down pocket kings. Wow, I cannot buy a river today, guys. I cannot buy a river. Okay, if you're unable to make a meaningful deposit, I think you want to be a little more conservative. I would probably wait till you got to like 2K to play 25-50. Yeah, you could take some shots. Your win rate's pretty darn high at 10 cents and 25 cents, so you could get away with some shots, I think. But I've been in your position before too, because on global I couldn't redeposit, so I had to be fairly conservative with what I played. Nicely played hand by Queen 7 suited. It's a very good hand to check a couple of times and bluff catch. The reason it's such a nice hand is like my bluffs have so little equity that he doesn't have to be concerned about giving me free cards. So far today, stuck half a buy-in at 255 and a buy-in and a half at 1-2. Feels like the 255 pool is not particularly soft. And the 1-2 pool, I don't know, haven't paid too close attention to the 1-2 pool. The king is a high EV card. I'm going to keep barreling even without having a gutter. I just want to have a lot of double barrels on the big turn cards. Been fairly card dead tonight. Haven't flopped a lot of action. I think I'm gonna play like 10 more minutes and then just break. Um, 2.5x open, 3x open, min raise, it's all fine. all those options are just fine. For a little bit of thin value with queen 6. I'm not going to value bet all of my 6s. I'm going to check down some of them, but this is one of my better 6s. And checking down pocket 5s. Pretty rough turn card on this 8 of diamonds. I check, my opponent shoves, I'm just going to fold. Would not surprise me to see him shove just a flush or even an 8. Not too excited about my pair of 9s, no diamond. Nine eight is a great floating hand because I have a gutter, I have 2 overcards, and I also unblock all of my opponent's like backdoor flush draw bluffing hands on the flop. The river, I'm just going to value bet kind of a normal size. And if I get check shoved on, like I won't have a terrific bluff catcher, but I will end up calling because of the strength of my hand. I wonder what this guy had. Kind of hard to think of hands that he wants to snap call with. He had pocket 4s. So the board was 5, 6, 6, 7 deuce. His flop check raise seems good. His turn call seems good. His river call, I don't know. I'd rather see a raise or a fold on the river, I think. What is your poker story that brought you to where you are today? That's a great question, but I think there's a little bit too much going on for me to answer it right now, but I'll answer that question another time. Okay, 7 of clubs is a really good card for my range, and what that does for me a little bit is makes me a little more foldy when I have like kind of a medium or weaker hand. Okay, opponent rivers the nuts. What else is new? God, this session's been brutal. Brutal session. Even though I'm not like stuck, I've just been catching rough rivers. Alright, this is miserable. I'm going to call it a session. The games also don't feel like especially soft today. Stuck 1,000, which is not too terribly bad. Mostly from 100, 200. Stuck a little bit at 500 zoom. Yeah, I'm gonna break and sweat. PokerStars, high stakes, get a little food. And maybe stream a bit more tomorrow. Okay, signing off. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for asking good questions. And I'll see you guys soon.